This is Michael Carson back with another video. The UK and France and Europe have decided they're going to hold their own little emergency security conference because they think they can create a ceasefire plan between Ukraine and Russia and present it to the US, and they think the US is going to agree to it. The latest update on the matter before I read the article comes from Poland's Prime Minister. It states, Tusk reiterates Poland won't send its troops to Ukraine. Well, they're the neighbors of Ukraine. So if they're not willing to do anything, there's really not going to be much anything. And it says, Tusk's security guarantees for Ukraine not discussed in summit. That's just like an update from a different part of the screen. I just didn't bother to pull it back up. And then, in other words, it's nothing again of significance was agreed upon, and President Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social account the following statement. Now Zelensky will have no choice but to back down and accept Trump's terms. But here's the genius part. Trump is actually protecting Ukraine without dragging the U.S. into war. By negotiating a mineral deal, Trump ensures that Americans will be involved in Ukraine's mining industry. This prevents Russia from launching an invasion, because attacking Ukraine would mean endangering U.S. lives, something that would force the U.S. to respond. Well, here's the thing. Biden, when he was doing his botched Afghanistan withdrawal, Americans got attacked and he didn't do anything about it. So they'll just wait until Trump's out of office again and then they'll attack. So, they would need a peacekeeping force in Ukraine, ideally from their direct neighbors, not from places like France or the UK, which are like the farthest west you can go without going to the United States for troops. But Ukraine can't even organize their own security. Anyways, let me finish reading the statement that Trump posted, because it's actually by a different person. Trump played both sides like a master chess player. In the end, Zelensky will have no choice but to concede, because without the U.S. support, Ukraine cannot win a prolonged war against Russia. And once U.S. companies have mining operations in Ukraine, Putin will be unable to attack without triggering massive international consequences. See, that's the thing. All they need is a Democrat to get back in office as presidency in the White House, and Russia could attack again. They did it with Obama with Crimea. They did it with Biden in Ukraine. They're just waiting for a Democrat. Because, the Democrats, they're sheep. They go, bah, and they keep voting for the same idiots, and they wonder why things aren't getting better. Trump can't get a second term unless they make an exception, in terms of they'd actually have to have a law passed by Congress, most likely, to create an exception for a one-time thing, but I doubt that they would do that, even if they had majorities, like complete majorities in both the House and the Senate. Anyways, let me finish. Don't underestimate Donald Trump in this game of chess. He is 10 moves ahead of everyone. Michael McCoon. And then I'll go ahead and read the article here. UK's pledges support for Ukraine's air defense as leaders discuss plans to end the war. Well, air defense? What about the ground? Starmer added that intense discussions to obtain security guarantee from the United States are one of the three components of lasting peace. Well, guess what? Trump doesn't want to send troops in there, and you're not going to get him to do so. And Starmer doesn't have the people to do it. And if he sends troops from the UK, his own home security is going to be even more worse off, because they can't handle their current problem with the Sharia law followers. And they're not doing anything to protect the people. They've got knife crime going crazy. They got, the Sharia law guys getting away with doing bad things to women. And they're not really putting him in jail. And the whole R inquiry that Farage wanted to do, you notice he doesn't even talk about it now, really. So he's not going to do anything about that. And he definitely does not want to deport, the Sharia law followers. So even if he becomes PM, nothing's going to change, because he's not going to stop anybody from coming in, and he's not going to export the troublemakers. I mean, he said it himself that the deportations were not politically viable. I'll have to put up another video in the future about Farage's deportation issue. Let me continue with the article. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said on March 2nd that Europe must continue to provide funding for Ukraine to sustain its position during peace negotiations, while committing to roughly $2 billion in export financing to supply Ukraine with 5,000 air defense missiles. Ooh, that's not even planes. Those aren't going to do much anything, especially when they can launch drones. Starmer hosted a security summit in London on March 2nd with other European and world leaders in Britain, France, and Ukraine work on a ceasefire plan to present the United States as an effort to end the Russian-Ukraine war, or as I like to call Russian on Russian, squabbling. It's not really that, but still, Ukraine can't really stand on its own. It needs everybody else to help it, and doesn't help that Zelensky really isn't making the conditions for the country any better. They're at a stalemate. I mean, his wife likes to go on shopping sprees. Let me continue. Starmer emphasized that despite the breakdown in talks at the White House on February 28th, the United States remained an important ally to Britain. The U.S. has been a reliable ally to the UK for many, many decades and continues to be. Starmer said, there are no two countries as closely aligned as our two countries. Well, that's the thing. We believe in free speech in the United States of America. The UK does not. They're throwing people in jail for online posts that they don't like things the way they're going. And they get tossed in the jail, and who gets released? Oh, violent criminals, including, guys that like to do nasty things to women. And they don't do nothing about that. Let me continue. Starmer's March 2 summit of leaders stand in contrast to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's meeting in the White House on February 28th, during which U.S. President Donald Trump scolded him for not being ready for peace and not being grateful for America's support in his nation's defense against Russia's 3-year-long invasion. Starmer said he's working on restoring discussions of peace and is using the breakdown on February 28th as an opportunity to re-engage with Trump, Zelensky, and French President Emmanuel Macron. Macron's freaking worthless. Rather than ramp up the rhetoric. Yeah. We've now agreed that the United Kingdom, along with France and possibly one or two other, will work with Ukraine on a plan to stop the fighting, and then we'll discuss the plan with the United States. Well, the United States already came up with a plan. And that was a statement that Starmer told the BBC, adding that he and Macron have spoken to Trump since the latter's meeting with Zelensky. Well, it doesn't matter. France and the UK don't have the ability to really help Ukraine all that much. I mean, I really don't like Starmer as being all Eurocentric when he should be UK-centric. I mean, they had Brexit, but no, they haven't actually left the European Union. Let me continue. At the summit, European leaders discussed shoring up the continent's defenses and defending Ukraine, including discussions to create a European military force to send the war-torn country to cap a ceasefire. Starmer suggested the military force would include a coalition of the willing. Well, I don't think there's many willing Britons or French. While he does not trust Russian President Vladimir Putin, Starmer said he trusts Trump. I do believe Donald Trump when he says he wants a lasting peace. The answer to that is yes, he said. Starmer added that intense discussions to obtain security guarantee from the United States is one of the 3 components of lasting peace. Well, Trump already had a deal and Zelensky cried, and so he's going to have to deal with not having a deal for a while. If there's to be a deal, if there is to be a stopping of the fighting, then the agreement has to be defended, because the worst of all outcomes is that there is a temporary pause and then Putin comes again. Starmer said that this has happened in the past, and I think it is a real risk, and that's why we must ensure that there's a deal. It is a lasting deal, not a temporary pause. Well, Britain can't really hold Russia's feet to the fire anyways. The summit, held at Lancaster House, a 200-year-old mansion near Buckingham Palace, will also include leaders from France, Germany, Denmark, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Spain, Canada, Finland, Sweden, the Czech Republic, and Romania. Like Trudeau from Canada is going to do anything, yeah, right. Other attendees include Turkish Foreign Minister, the NATO Secretary General, and the President of the European Commission and the European Council. Oh boy, I'm sorry, is the UK part of the EU? Didn't they, Brexit the hell out of there? Yeah, well, that's what happens when Farage lets Boris deal with the exiting of the Brexit. Well, you can't just have a referendum. Yeah, he got the referendum passed, but the results are even worse than if they just not did anything, because they screwed over their entire country, or should I say kingdom. After the Ukrainian president arrived in Britain on March 1, Starmer embraced him. As you heard the cheers on the street outside, you have full backing across the United Kingdom. We stand with you, with Ukraine, for as long as it may take. Starmer has pledged to boost military spending 2.5% of gross domestic product by 2027. Yeah, for whatever reason, product screws me up. Other European nations may follow suit. On March 1st, Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala has said European countries must increase military spending to at least 3% of GDP as the continent faces historic tests in defending itself. Oh, you mean the Sharia law-loving people that want to spread their message around the globe? Those people? If we don't increase our effort fast enough and let the aggressor dictate its conditions, we won't end up well, he said. Well, are we talking about Russia or Sharia law lovers? That's a little vague, eh? I'm pretty sure he means Russia, but really that's not the true problem. In calling for unity among his European neighbors, Macron embraced more defense spending after saying it was legitimate for the United States to shift its military focus to China and Asia. We should have woken up earlier, Macron said. I've been saying this for years, that we need more sovereign and more united, more independent Europe. Well, the UK is not part of Europe, so Macron, you need to go talk to your masters in Germany and figure stuff out. Thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next one. And please consider watching one of the others if you have not already done so.